with Chapter 7, it should be fairly easy for you guys to do. You're going to be importing graphics into your Flash project. You're going to be taking screenshots of websites. It asks you to put in your own project if you want to do that. Screenshots of your own projects, you can do that kind of thing too. Basically, you know, I'm giving you those different options to take screenshots if you want to. Just keep in mind that basically you're setting it up. So as you'll notice right here, there's going to be an added button right here. It says screen design. Okay. Oops. So you're going to make a button that's going to go to that screen design, and you're going to make it so when it gets there, you're able to see the screenshots. You're going to group them in a way that, you know, 2, 3, about 4 screenshots of something. You're going to import an object like this, or an image like this briefcase. It's part of your. You can use that if you want. I'd rather that you use something else and break it apart. And basically, what you're going to do, well, not break it apart. You're going to have it traced, and by having it traced, what you're doing essentially is taking an image that's pixel based and then converting it to a vector base. So basically, for instance, like this. Let me give you an example. Just going to take an image that's already been imported. So here's an image that, as you'll notice, there's the bounding box, the gray bounding box around it, and as you can see, it's an image, right? It's a beaker of some sort, a test tube. And so if we wanted to, and you may or may not want to, sometimes you may want to because of, like this image may have a white background and you want to select that white background and delete it using it in Flash. You can always do that. Keep in mind, the ideal thing would be like this image right here has a transparent background, would be to do it in Photoshop. Take it into Photoshop and select the background, delete it, and then you have a transparent back, and save it out as a PNG file. If you notice right here, this is a PNG, or is it? Yeah, it's a PNG file. Well, let's see. Let's look real quick here. It's not letting me know right here what. I believe it is a PNG file or a GIF file. So one of the two would be because of the transparent background. But again, if you wanted to take this image and be able to convert it to a vector shape, it's easy enough. All you do is import the image, and then you go to Modify and Bitmap and Trace Bitmap. Now when you do that, you have the options of where it says color threshold, where if you reduce the number in that from like 100 to 50, you get a better representation of that image as a vector shape. So I'm just going to leave it at that right now at 100 or so. And notice now it's converted. You can tell that it didn't do a great job, but it did a decent job of it. So notice if I click and drag, I can, you know, like we do with vector shapes, I can click and drag it and, you know, change the color on that particular spot, or just select this one particular vector area and delete it, you know, in terms of just, you know, getting rid of different things on there if I wanted to, or modifying it in whatever way I want to be able to modify it. Okay, so you can do that with most files. And now keep in mind, it usually has to be a PNG, JPEG, or a GIF type file. Other files would probably work, but I know for sure those definitely work when you import them into Flash. And the other thing you want to keep in mind is that before you import the files in Photoshop, for instance, you want to maximize the optimization on that file. So, you know, when you open it up, save for the web, or when you're ready, when you've modified it and you're going to ready to import it, go to File, Save for the Web, and then you'll do the 4-up, and then choose one of those particular type of optimizations, whether it's a GIF, JPEG, or PNG. If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, raise your hands. Anybody? You don't? Okay. So let me show you real quick. So for instance, in Photoshop, and this is a good thing to remember, because what you want to do always is you want to optimize your images the most as possible in terms of being able to use it for the web, whether it's in Flash, or whether you're going to use it, put it up using HTML in Dreamweaver or any content management program or anything that you're going to use. Anytime you import images, you want to optimize it the most. Okay, so let's see here. Let me import an image. Let me see, open up a recent image. Okay. Let me look for an image here. There we go, image. All right, so I've opened up this image right here. Now, say I'm going to use this as my banner for my website. It's going to be a banner that I'm going to use on top of the website, whether it's for Flash or Dreamweaver or whatever it may be. Keep in mind that, as I was saying, you want to optimize it the most. So when I'm done with it, when I've modified it, you know, I've done whatever I was going to do to it, and I'm ready to export it out. Okay? So maybe what I did is, one of the things I did is, besides doing that, was to reduce the image size. So I want to make it a little smaller. Instead of 10 inches, maybe I want it to be by 8 inches. Okay? And then I, you know, keep the constraint on there so that I make sure that it stays the same size on there. Click OK. So I've reduced it a little bit, or maybe I didn't. Let's see, image size. I change that to 8. Okay, so I've made it a little smaller. Now I'm happy with that. And by the way, you should always make your files as small as possible. In terms of, or make sure the size you're going to use is the size you want to use, for instance, in Flash or Dreamweaver or wherever it may be that you're going to use it for. Okay, so now I'm going to do what I was talking about in terms of optimizing it. So I'm going to go to File, Save for the Web, and notice that there's these tabs, 2 up and 4 up, right? Now, I could go with the 2 up and I could select this and then change the different presets, but I'm going to do the 4 up. This way I get a better idea in terms of what quality image and how small they can get. So the top one right here is the original. It says original on there, right? Then this one is another selection or another way that I can optimize it. It's JPEG right here, but at a medium size. Okay, and then you can see the size right here. Now it's been reduced from 255K kilobytes to 14 or 16 kilobytes. This one right here, very low optimization, it's been reduced to 10 kilobytes. Even better, right? But sometimes we can even get even lower. As you can notice right here is 9 kilobytes. But then if you compare this quality to this quality of the image, then you may go like, oh, it doesn't look too good. Well, let me make this a little bit bigger. And you may want to use your zoom tool right here just to kind of zoom in a little bit more. Notice how it's degraded a lot around the image. This one's not that good compared to the original one up here, right? So again, you want to compare it. Now you can also, again, you can look at this right here, look at the image right here in terms of the degradation on it. Maybe instead of JPEG, so I'm going to choose right here, so that panel is selected. I'm going to go to JPEG, maybe choose Ping 8, PNG. It's another type of optimization on there. So once I select PNG, then I look at the quality, and then I look at the quality and compare the two. Here's the original, this quality. Looks good. It's at 51K. I'll go back to this JPEG and then put it at medium, and then compare this and this. And this is smaller at 16K compared to 51K, right? But the quality is not as good. So maybe I'll change this to, instead of medium, to high. So this one, I'll leave it high. And that's at 30K. This does a better job. And if I compare the original to this one, then I'm maybe going to go with, as a JPEG, at 30Ks. Because it's smaller than the PNG. Even though, again, sometimes the qualities may not be as good. You have to kind of weigh those options. You know, in terms of optimizing it, making it the small as you can, but still maintaining the quality on it. And again, so those are your options. Now, if I had an image which had a transparent background, or I needed to have a transparent background, instead of JPEG, you would choose PNG or PNG 24 or GIF. Now this image doesn't need any transparent background, right? So let me show you guys what I mean by, hopefully I can find an image that fits that category. Okay, here's one. Let me open this one. I think it has a white background, but you know what? Let me close this file. So notice right here in this background, this does have a white background, but say I want a transparent background. I want to have the background transparent because maybe my background is going to be blue instead of white, right? So what I would do is unlock this in Photoshop, double clicking it. Then I would use my eraser tool. See the magic erase tool right here? Under, well, it's, you know, as you can see, it's under the erase tool. You look for the eraser or magic erase tool. And all I have to do is click on the white background and notice it becomes a checker background. When it becomes a checker background, that means that it's a transparent background. Now, when I go to save for the web, oops, where did it go? Save for the web. And again, I get my 4 panels. Notice this right here, if I save it as a JPEG, the background becomes white. Now you can change the background if you wanted to under to a different color under matting right here. We could choose, like, for instance, red. And notice it, and then you could kind of match it to your background. But the safest way is, for instance, I'll choose this other option. Remember, this is the original. I'll choose this option and I'll choose GIF. And notice it preserves that background, that transparent background. And if I go to this other option right here, I'll choose PNG 8. 8, it means that, you know, it's about, has a smaller color palette than PNG 24. And if your image is not too complex in terms of color, PNG 8 is good enough. So as you notice right here, this one has a transparent background, but this one is a PNG 8 or PNG, and this is a GIF. And then you could see the, again, the size on the GIF is 5.43Ks. This one is 27. And then here's your original. Again, I would zoom in just to kind of make sure that the quality is just as good. And notice on the GIF, when I zoom in, the quality is not as good as the PNG. So even though I'm sacrificing size on this, I would probably choose the PNG in terms of you know, using this image. So when I select it, then I click save, and then it'll you know, it'll save it wherever it's going to save it to, and it'll save it with the extension PNG. If it's a JPEG, JPG, GIF, GIF, right? And then you save it wherever you're going to save it to, and then you import it. So that's the idea in terms of optimizing your images. Okay. Let me show you one more thing. So anyway, let me import that image one more, the snowflake. I'll import it to the stage real quick so you guys get an idea in terms of what you could do with it, or you may want to do with it. Hopefully I can find it again. All right, so here's this snowflake again. So when I import it right to the stage. Notice again the white background, right? So if I don't want to go through the process of going through Photoshop, which you should, by the way, and I want to convert this to a vector shape, you know, I could go to modify, as I showed you before, trace bitmap. And then what I could do is just select the white background. Now I can select the white background and just press delete. You see? And now I can move this image into, but notice I accidentally cut this off. I just have to select it better and whatever, right? And you can resize it and so on, and you can work with it that way, okay? So that's the idea in terms of working with images. And you're going to be importing images. You're going to take some snapshots. To take a snapshot, for instance, like say you're going to take a snapshot of this website. On the Mac, all you have to do is Command, there's two ways. The Command Shift 3, and then that takes a complete snapshot of this whole screen. Command Shift 4, Command Shift 4 allows you to click and drag. Notice I can click and drag, and I can just take a snapshot of the image, and that's usually what you want to do. Otherwise, you can bring it into Photoshop and edit out everything else. So if you notice, if I go to the desktop, I can get to the desktop. Let me do it this way. On my desktop, there should be a couple. Here's the screenshot. Notice this screenshot right here. Well, let's bring all the three up. So notice this one. Why is this thing going so slow? Anyway, notice this screenshot takes up the whole desktop. So in Photoshop, I would just crop out this right here. I would use a cropping tool and just crop this area of sort of like this, and just crop this area out, right? Or, as I said before, you can just do Command Shift 4, and then you'll notice I already took just a screenshot of what I wanted. Click and drag, and it takes an image of that. Okay, so you can do it that way. And the idea is to do about 3 or 4 different websites in terms of doing the screenshot. On a PC, if you're working on a PC, you're going to just hit print. And unfortunately, you're going to have to bring it into Photoshop and then just crop out the part you want, because it takes a whole screenshot of the whole your whole desktop. All right, so let's look at this real quickly. Now, if I test this out, Command Return. Obviously, the snowflake is not going to show because it's off to the side. But again, there's the briefcase or whatever that they ask you to use. You don't have to use that. You may want to use your own picture or whatever type of thing on there. When you go to hit screen design, again, these are websites, just screenshots of 3 different websites, as you can see on there. And that's the idea of basically, that's really what you have to do for this chapter, for the most part. And that's it. Home button, bringing it back to the home page. And that is all. Now, in terms of your paper, I put, man, what the heck is going on? I put a link, if you guys will notice. I think this is going to die. Hold on a second. Bring this back up. I put a link on your website. So for the 2-page writing assignment, you're basically going to either do some research on the internet on the latest trend in multimedia. So you're just going to type in latest trend in multimedia, kind of find out what's going on. Or I also put a link on there for you guys to go to a webinar. And it's an hour and, I don't know, whatever. I don't know how long it is. But hold on a second. This thing is taking. Try Chrome. Okay, so on here in your assignment, I put a link for your or for your 2-page writing assignment. The heck? It's not there. Did I go to the right class? I think it crashed before I submitted it. All right, give me a second here. Damn it. Here's the webinar link. Give me a second. I say, oh, here it is. So I'll make sure to put this in your in that link. When I added it, as you saw, Firefox crashed and it didn't quite add to it. But anyway, so if you go to this link, you'll see Adobe Flash Professional Team Blog webinar video. So a webinar, you guys, is like a conference that you go to online, and so you'll hear other people talking, and there'll be presenters through the webinar and stuff like that. And they'll be presenting, they'll be talking about Flash CC and what some of the things you can do in terms of gaming and all that kind of stuff to create games and to, well, all the different platforms that you could use it in. And so your task would be to, report on it, do a written 2-page written report on this. And as I said before, it's about, well, it's 1 hour and 41 minutes long. Okay. It's up to you guys. You can listen to it. I think it's pretty interesting. I've already listened to it and all that. You can listen to it in pieces. You don't have to listen to all, the whole thing all at one shot. But remember, your paper is due on Thursday. Okay, so it's up to you what you decide to do. But I'm giving you that option. Okay? Bless you. Any questions in terms of the paper or the chapter? Like I said, it's pretty fairly easy in terms of what you eventually need to do. You're just going to add another section, add those screen captures image, make sure you set it up so it links to it, all that kind of stuff. Add that image in front of your web page, and so on. Okay? That's it.